Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's central bank RBI's Monetary Policy Committee keeps key rates unchanged at 6.5%. Central bank projects India's real GDP growth rate for FY25 at 7%. US President Joe Biden says Israel must prevent civilian harm in Gaza to keep US support. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen meets Chinese official in Guangzhou, emphasizes need to discuss China's industrial overcapacity. Election campaign picks momentum for parliamentary polls in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the Indian state of Rajasthan to address a rally at Churu. Congress releases poll manifesto. India's central bank, Reserve Bank of India, today announced its decision on short-term lending rate or repo rate today and kept it unchanged at 6.5%. Announcing the monetary policy statement, RBI Governor Shaktikant Das said that headline inflation has eased to 5.1% during both January and February, and this has come down to 5.1% in these 2 months from the earlier peak of 5.7% in the month of December.
Standing deposit facility, that is the SDF, rate remains at 6.25%, and the marginal standing facility, that is the MSF rate and the bank rate, they remain at 6.75%. Growth has continued to sustain its momentum, surpassing all projections. Headline inflation has eased to 5.1% during both January and February, and this has come down to 5.1% in these 2 months from the earlier peak of 5.7% in the month of December. Looking ahead, robust growth prospects provide the policy space to remain focused on inflation and ensure its descent to the target of 4%.
RBI Governor said that the inflation has come down significantly. He also said that robust growth prospects provide the policy space to remain focused on inflation and ensure its descent to the target of 4%. And now let's take you across straight to the press conference by the Reserve Bank of India. It will come in a while.
Let's start.
Hello and welcome to the first policy of 24-25. Today with us we have Governor Shri Shaktikant Das, Deputy Governors Dr. M.D. Patra, Shri M. Rajeshwar Rao, Shri T. Ravi Shankar, Shri Swaminathan J, and 2 Executive Directors, Dr. O.P. Mal and Dr. Rajiv Ranjan. So as is customary, I would request Governor to make some opening remarks and then we'll go for the Q&A.
Good morning. Namaskar. I guess I will not be off the mark if I say that the policy overall is on expected lines. So it demonstrates that I think the Reserve Bank, the market participants, the market players, and perhaps the media and analysts and all, every stakeholder, I think the thinking is at the moment well aligned so far as the monetary policy is concerned. But having said that, I just want to make 5 observations. First, inflation is moderating and the GDP growth is robust. Number 2, the Monetary Policy Committee remains focused on aligning inflation to the target on a durable basis. We derive satisfaction from the progress made under disinflation, but the task is not yet finished. Number 3, the financial sector continues to be stable. Number 4, External sector also continues to be resilient. Number 5, as we move towards RBI at 100, the Reserve Bank will continue to focus on preserving financial stability and promoting a financial sector and a payment system that is robust, resilient, and future ready. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those opening remarks. I will, before inviting all of you, I'll request you to please restrict to one question per person, and if time permits, we will go for another one. I'll call out the names. I'll start with Mr. Ankur Mishra from ET Now.
Good afternoon, Governor. Thank you, Yogesh, sir. My question is that you have mentioned that the elephant has reached, you want elephant to stay in forest in a durable basis. Is it still outside the room or it has already reached forest? Why I'm asking, because in your projections you have said that in Q3 and Q4 there is going to be slight uptick in inflation. So what is your assessment?
You see, the elephant moves at a slow pace. So therefore, the last mile of disinflation is always challenging and sticky. And as I have very clearly stated, we would like, inflation to align with the target on a durable basis. So that is the, that is what we are looking for.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll move on to Mr. Mayur Shetty from the Times of India.
Governor, in your speech, you specifically mentioned the need to build up foreign exchange reserves. So, this is something that RBI has been doing, and the rupee has been stable. So, is it that the currency stability has moved up in the list of priorities for RBI?
No, it has always been the priority of the Reserve Bank to ensure stability of the Indian rupee. And I have myself stated about it on a number of occasions. My colleagues have also talked about it on a number of occasions. So far as building up of reserves is concerned, consciously we have over the last 4-5 years, we have been building up reserves whenever, as the market moves, depending on the prevailing market situation. So, and that endeavor continues because it acts as a buffer against future risks, especially in situation when the cycle turns and if there are significant outward flows of dollars. So I have said it earlier also, so it is by way of a buffer that we are building up reserves. It adds, and this is very important, this whole approach adds to the strength of the national balance sheet.
Thank you, sir. I'll move on to Mr. Anup Roy from Bloomberg.
Thank you, sir. Sir, just trying to understand a little bit about your thinking on the heat wave warnings. You have not changed your inflation forecast that much, but will you be watching out for the heat wave warnings first, and what is the impact that's going to be before taking a call? Or you have, seen and, decided that it is not that materially important?
No, there is a statement coming out from the IMD that the temperatures, I have not said heat wave, I have said temperatures. The IMD has stated that there will be high temperatures, and perhaps they have used a different word. They have not used the word heat wave, but the temperatures are going to be above normal in the months of April, May and June. So we have to really watch what impact it has on, especially on food crops, and in that I have mentioned specifically about certain key vegetables. Now, so far as wheat crop is concerned, our information is that by and large the harvesting is over. In central part of India, it's fully over, excepting maybe a few areas, and even in other places also. By and large, the wheat harvest is over. So therefore, the wheat crop, availability will not be affected as much as it did, some 2 years ago when there were heat wave conditions starting March. much worry, but there's not so much concern. But vegetable prices have to be watched, and any other impact that heat wave conditions that may produce.
Thank you, sir. I'll move on to Ms. Ritu Singh from CNBC TV18.
Governor, just a comment on, thank you for the question. On the exchange-traded currency derivative rules, it's very clear that RBI stance has not changed. Yet the market, of course, has grown to almost $5 billion of notional turnover on a daily basis. Now that this deadline has been extended, but still the fact remains that you're asking for the underlying to be there when these trades are undertaken. We just wanted to understand, was there a concern that RBI had when it comes to the financial stability or the currency, because of which this deadline was put in the first place for a rule that has stayed in place for now 10 years?
Okay. I guess there could be some more questions on this issue. If there are any, you could just mention so that we take it all together and give a common reply. I mean, if she has already mentioned certain points, other than that, but related to this matter,
exactly.
If you have any question, you can just put it so that we take it all together.
Exactly. The question is that yesterday you extended the deadline after 5:30, after the trading hours. The market has died by that time, but you still have extended the deadline. What is the reason for extending the deadline by 1 month? Is there a scope to review your decision? That is the question.
Okay. Yeah.
So the
But
volumes
please
are-
remember that you are exhausting your opportunity to ask a
Sir, no,
question.
you said you're taking all these together.
So please keep that in mind.
So no, just wanted to
All right, that was Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikanta Das speaking after the key announcements by the central bank in its monetary policy 2024. The central bank kept the repo rate unchanged at 6.5%, and also there have been certain announcements made by the governor. Now, the US president has said that American policy on Gaza will be determined by whether Israel takes steps to address the safety of aid workers. US President Joe Biden had a telephonic call with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on Thursday.
On that phone call, the president emphasized that the strikes on humanitarian workers and the overall humanitarian situation in Gaza are unacceptable. He made clear the need for Israel to announce and to implement a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address civilian harm, humanitarian suffering, and the safety of aid workers. He made clear that U.S. policy with respect to Gaza will be determined by our assessment of Israel's immediate action on these steps. If we don't see changes from their side, there'll have to be changes from our side, but I won't preview what that could look like.
The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Washington's policy on Gaza depended on immediate action by Israel to improve the humanitarian situation. He was speaking at the close of a two-day meeting of NATO foreign ministers to mark the alliance's 75th anniversary. Blinken's comments come in the wake of an Israeli attack on a World Central Kitchen charity convoy this week that killed 7 food aid workers.
President Biden spoke a short while ago with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The leaders discussed the situation in Gaza. The president emphasized that the strikes on humanitarian workers and the overall humanitarian situation are unacceptable. He made clear the need for Israel to announce a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address civilian harm, humanitarian suffering, and the safety of aid workers. He made clear that U.S. policy with respect to Gaza will be determined by our assessment of Israel's immediate action on these steps. He underscored as well that an immediate ceasefire is essential to stabilize and improve the humanitarian situation and protect innocent civilians, and he urged Prime Minister Netanyahu to empower his negotiators to conclude a deal without delay to bring the hostages home.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said she was looking forward to having open and direct communication on issues that both the United States and China disagree on as she met Southern Guangdong Province Governor Wang Wizong on Friday. She was greeted by Wang with officials from both sides present in the provincial capital city of Guangzhou. And during her opening remarks, Yellen emphasized the need to discuss China's industrial overcapacity.
Building a healthy economic relationship requires a level playing field for American workers and firms and open and direct communication on areas where we disagree. And this includes the issue of China's industrial overcapacity, which the United States and other countries are concerned can cause global spillovers.
Earlier, United States Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen held roundtable talks with U.S. and foreign business leaders in China's southern city of Guangzhou on Friday. In a series of meetings with top Chinese economic officials from Friday through Monday, Yellen will seek to convey her view that the excess production is unhealthy for China and that there is a growing drumbeat of concern about it in the U.S., Europe, Japan, Mexico and other major economies. All right, let's see what's happening around the world. US President Joe Biden celebrated the 203rd anniversary of the Greek Independence Day with a reception at the White House on Thursday. Accompanied by the Archbishop of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, the president celebrated the ties and friendship between the United States and Greece and applauded the Greeks for being the developers of democracy. At least 14 people died and 2 were left injured in an accident involving a small bus and a lorry on a highway in Oruro, western Bolivia. According to the authorities, the driver of the truck that was transporting salt fell asleep, lost control of the vehicle and then collided head-on with the bus, which was in the other lane. An airplane made emergency landing on a highway in North Carolina. The pilot was the only person in the airplane. No casualties were reported. The plane hit 2 vehicles during the emergency landing. The airplane took off from Lynchburg, Virginia, with a flight plan that had it landing in the Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina. Malaysian Prime Minister received a courtesy call from Indonesian President-elect and Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto, who's on a special one-day visit to Malaysia. Their meeting discussed, among others, the next direction to be taken to strengthen Malaysia-Indonesia ties. Anwar and Prabowo also took the opportunity to share their experiences and exchange views on their political journeys. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Demolition of title buildings begins in Hualien after Taiwan earthquake. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says more aid is urgently needed for Ukraine. UN Assistant Secretary General Khaled Khiari expresses concern over expansion of armed conflict throughout Myanmar.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. NATO alliance members agreed on Thursday to scour their arsenals for more air defense systems for Ukraine as the two-day meeting of NATO foreign ministers to mark the alliance's 75th anniversary focused on long-term support to Ukraine. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba met NATO counterparts and appealed for new additional air defense systems, especially US-made Patriot missiles. NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the allies understand the urgency, though he did not spell out any specific pledge or aid target.
Allies understand the urgency and therefore welcome also the announcements I just listed from several allies to provide more ammunition and more types of systems to Ukraine. They also understand the urgency of stepping up when it comes to air defense in particular. And therefore allies will now go back and look into their inventories, look into if there are any ways they can provide more systems, in particular Patriots, but also, of course, ensure that the systems which are already there have the ammunition, but also the spare parts so they can all function as they should. So this is partly a question of systems, batteries, but also very much a question of delivering the interceptors to the systems which are already there. And several allies promised that they should make a new effort to find what they can, or to look into what more they can deliver.
The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said a vote on multi-billion Ukraine aid package held up in the US Congress could not come soon enough. He also said that allies had resolved to look at sending Kyiv more military aid.
So more than ever, we have genuine burden sharing among the allies. And in the 30 or so years that I've been engaged in these issues, this is probably the best example of burden sharing that I've seen. The United States has made tremendous contributions ourselves, but it is imperative that Congress pass the supplementary budget request that President Biden has made. I know that Speaker Johnson committed to bring the supplemental to a vote swiftly. The message from Brussels is clear. That vote cannot happen soon enough.
In Taiwan, demolition of a tilted building in Hualien began today, 2 days after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake in Taiwan rocked the island, killing 12 people and leaving hundreds stranded in a national park. Excavators broke the windows of the quake-hit Uranus building as dismantling operations commenced. A mountain near the demolition site was also affected by a landslide caused by the quake. Taiwan's fire department said 2 bodies were found in the mountains and put the number of people still missing at 18, including 3 foreigners. And DD India's Patrick Folk has more from Taiwan on aftermath of earthquake.
Well, there are over 600 people that are still stranded. They are in contact with authorities, and what they're trying to do today is to airlift rescue personnel to them, either to pull them out or to bring necessary aid to them, much like they did with the trapped miners that were rescued yesterday. But weather conditions are changing here in Taiwan, so it's not been determined whether or not that's possible right now. Separately, among that group of hotel employees that were trapped in a convoy of minibuses on their way to work in Hualien County, we're hearing that one of them may have broken their legs. That's going to complicate rescues operations there, but some of those have also found their way to safety since being trapped there on Wednesday. The number of people that remain unaccounted for and are still missing has gone down since Thursday. There are now 38 people missing officially, according to authorities, and the priority really is to try and reach them right now. As the government in Taiwan has said, the priority is really to save as many lives as possible at this time. There is still this threat of aftershocks, and there have been more than 300 aftershocks since the initial quake on Wednesday. Last night there were some significant tremors, including one that triggered the earthquake alert warning system, so that threat is still very real.
While the UN Assistant Secretary General Khaled Khiari has expressed concern over the expansion of armed conflict throughout Myanmar. In his address to UN Security Council, Khaled Khiari said that fighting between the military and the Arakan army has reached an unprecedented level of violence. He also said that addressing the root causes of the Rohingya crisis will be essential to establish a sustainable pathway out of the current crisis.
The expansion of armed conflict throughout the country has deprived communities of basic needs and access to essential services, and a devastating impact on human rights and fundamental freedoms. Addressing the root causes of the Rohingya crisis will be essential to establish a sustainable pathway out of the current crisis. The failure to do so and continued impunity will only keep fueling Myanmar's vicious cycle of violence.
Let's now get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. With just days to go for parliamentary polls, leaders have intensified their campaign to woo the voters in their favor. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Indian state of Rajasthan to address rally in Churu. Bharatiya Janata Party has fielded Paralympian Devendra Jhajaria from Churu. The main contest is between the BJP and the Congress party here. The state of Rajasthan has 25 seats in lower house of the parliament. Congress party releases its election manifesto at the All India Congress Committee office in New Delhi today. The manifesto release event was attended by Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and P. Chidambaram among others. Following the release of election manifesto called Nyay Patra, party will also hold 2 rallies on April 6. As Tamil Nadu heads to the polls in the first phase of the upcoming parliamentary election, national leaders are gearing up to ramp up their campaign efforts through their visits, heralding crucial moments in the campaign trail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to campaign for the Bharatiya Janata Party in Tamil Nadu from April 9 to 14. His itinerary includes roadshows and public gatherings in Vellore, Coimbatore, Chennai and Virudhunagar, aiming to bolster the party's prospects in the upcoming polls. Meanwhile, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is gearing up to address a rally in Kanyakumari on March 13th, launching the campaign of the DMK Congress Alliance in Tamil Nadu. Alongside Gandhi, prominent leaders such as DMK President M.K. Stalin and MDMK Chief Vaiko are expected to participate in the public meeting, injecting momentum into the alliance's electoral drive. Tripura Chief Minister Manik held Padayatra, or a journey undertaken on foot, in support of party's candidate in Rajnagar, South Tripura. The elections are scheduled to be held in 2 phases in the state. The West Tripura seat will go to the polls on April 19, while the East Tripura seat will witness voting on April 26. Moving on to IPL now, Sunrisers Hyderabad will take on defending champions Chennai Super Kings today in the match 18 of the IPL 2024 at the Rajiv Gandhi International Cricket Stadium in Hyderabad. Sunrisers Hyderabad suffered a heavy 7-wicket defeat while defending 163 against Gujarat Titans in their last game. Pat Cummins-led Hyderabad have won one of their opening 3 games this season and are currently placed at 6th position in the points table. Meanwhile, Ruturaj Gaikwad-led Chennai Super Kings also witnessed a shocking 20-run loss against Delhi Capitals in their first game. However, Chennai are placed in the 3rd spot in the points table with 2 wins in 3 games in IPL 2024. CSK have recorded 4 wins in their last 5 meetings against SRH and will enter the upcoming clash as favourites. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.